Okay, y'all. So I watched it and I have a little bit of an opinion that I think is going to be a little bit different from everybody else's opinion. Like everybody's going to comment on the obvious things that were in there. So I'm going to give my little 2 cents about that, but I'm going to give you what I think, something that's a little bit different from everybody else's opinion. But let's jump into it, cuz first we got to start off with Mother Tyra, because this woman, it's funny when you look at the story, you could see what she was trying to do. You could see, like, it was clear as day. The '90s, coming out of the '90s, heroin chic was there. Always, it was there. If you didn't look like you was a drug addict, then the fashion world didn't want you. And a specific drug addict, a white drug addict. So if you didn't look like that, heroin chic, they didn't want you. So you could see that when she came into it, she was trying to change stuff. However, when you say, if you look at this, you will see that Tyra was probably not a girl's girl. And boy, did that, was that displayed in the, as this reality show went on. Let's start with what happened to Cycle 2 castmate member Shandi. Like, okay, so I remember watching this show at the time when they were putting it out originally, and this storyline, like, I was never one to slut shame or anything like that, but this storyline was all about her being slut shamed. Like, she cheated on her boyfriend at the time. Lo and behold, when we actually get to hear her version of the story, we found out that she was SA'd. Like, what the heck? And so they caught her SA on camera, and like, nothing was done with that besides making it content. And this is where everything gets weird, because this is in a weird time right before the digital revolution where everything was digital. So it's funny because a lot of the sins that we see with Miss Tyra Banks on this show is what we would eventually, I guess, kind of deride influencers for turning every little thing into content. So it's that it used to be, it's the thing to where whatever, what we used to call the bystander effect, when it used to be when something happens and something serious happens, nobody would do anything. Everybody would just stand and watch unless you actually pulled somebody out of the crowd and said, hey, what's your name? This person using their name, go and call 911. If you didn't do that specifically, then people would just stand and watch the horrific thing happening in front of you. And then when we got into the digital age and everybody started having cell phones, that bystander effect turned into everybody would pull out their camera and start taking photos or videos of the horrific thing happening, but they won't call 911. No one will call for help unless you say, hey, person who is recording, what is your name? Then you have to use their name. Hey, can you put down the camera and call 911? That it's that. So this is in that era before we moved over to like digital. And so yeah, like, sorry to, I feel so sorry for her. She got played dirty by Tyra. Nobody was there to help her. And when they collected all of that content, her SA became content for Tyra to then edit and then make a storyline out of. And it worked because it got ratings and we didn't know the better. And that poor girl went through hell afterwards. But that still doesn't excuse Miss Tyra for her crimes. In fact, we're going to move on to another contestant because I had something similar. Like, I myself experienced something similar to what this person went through, although mine was not as extreme. So here we have Miss Danielle Evans, where, oh my God. So her story can be summed up by saying, first of all, she was one of the first girls where she had a gap in her teeth, and they said they bullied this poor girl into surgically altering herself to win a reality competition. So they literally took her to the dentist to go and get a surgical procedure to put in, like, to fix the gap that she had. And I understand that pressure. I understand that pressure to succeed. Like I said, mine was not as extreme, but I remember going to a place of work, to a place of work that should have been okay with black hairstyles because it was a black owned business. And I came in with my nice little braids that were always braided up and lined up and whatnot. And I had worked there for a good couple of months. And I remember the big boss at the time pulled me in, who no longer worked there by the time I left, by the way. They pulled me in and they said, hey, so I see you have the braids and whatnot, and don't you think it would be a little bit more professional if you actually got, your hair cut low and blah, blah, blah. And I had to make a choice. And the one of the regrets in my life is that I didn't say, F no, I'm keeping my hair. I actually decided to shear off my hair, and I got my waves or whatnot, and I rocked that for a few. But it always irked me that first of all, he put me in that position because as a black man, he should have seen what I was doing, seen that I was doing the job well, despite having braids, and it shouldn't have been a problem. The braids had nothing to do with my ability to execute that job. But in her case, it got even worse because with Miss Tyra, after she went through all of that and made a decision to surgically alter herself, mine wasn't even surgical. That's why I say mine wasn't as extreme as hers. She surgically altered herself to win a competition. And then once she won the competition, she won, y'all. That black woman who was over the show did not protect her and actually knew that she was going into an industry that would be biased against her. And they said it somehow there would be certain doors that she couldn't even enter. And Tyra knew that if she won this, she was going to have bias for being a reality TV star. Like, what? You knew that if the girls won the competition, they will get their little contract for a management agency, but the management is not going to push them because they were a reality TV star. And then you have Kenya. She is the success story despite Tyra. Like she does it now to where she teaches models how to be models and protect themselves. Like she does it now. She's a pose coach, and I've seen her content before this show even came out. I had seen that she was doing well. She had talked about her experience before this. I'm just glad to see her doing it on a big stage to where a lot of people are seeing it now. But Kenya, they treated Kenya so dirty because she actually had the gall to stand up and for herself and say, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable on a set because I'm being sexually harassed. And do you know that this woman had the nerve to say, well, if you're being sexually harassed, how about you just flirt with them a little bit and just be like, ha ha ha, boy, you better stop. I ain't got time for that. That's the advice that was given. That was, but yes. Okay. Everybody's going to comment on how all of this stuff happened, and Tyra takes pretty much no responsibility for all the stuff that these girls went through. But let's get to the people who were supposed to be her friends. These Negroes. Actually, wait. Okay, I am not sure about J. Manuel, because I just found out I think his parents are from South Africa. From South Africa. So I don't know if they're Afrikaners or if they're I don't know. But these guys, they were supposed to be her friends. And this is the thing. So my critique, the thing that I'm going to say differently than what everybody else is probably commenting on, because they're commenting on all of the salacious stuff, but I'm going to say this is the downfall. This is the thing. This is a problem with black excellence. It's because once you're on top, like Tyra has that, you want to be on top, once you're on that pedestal, your position is so precarious that anything can knock you off of that pedestal. And so a lot of people, once they reach that height, once they're on top, they do anything to stay in that position. And that's where, W.E. Du Bois, Talented 10th, the black excellent myth starts to fall down because they start sacrificing community in order to stay in that position. And that's exactly what she did to her three friends. And so That's where I'm going to take this. Out of you, everybody else is going to be commenting in specific detail about everything that was messed up, but this just shows kind of like the fallacy and what's wrong with Black excellence slash the talented tip from W.E.B. Du Bois. So I hope to see y'all tomorrow, because I'm doing one of these videos or one video every day for the next 30 days. So talk to y'all later. Bye.